and support a Griz athlete. DraftWorks is a longtime favorite of beer enthusiasts across the Treasure State, and DraftWorks has created a sessionable, delicious lager that donates part of every sale to the name, image, and likeness efforts at the University of Montana. Upwith Montana Lager is a crisp, effervescent beer that pours pale straw in color and greets you with an inviting malty aroma, and it's crafted with Griz athletes in mind. If you're headed to the tailgate or stocking up to watch football, give back to the NIL Collective at the University of Montana by drinking Upwith Montana Lager, proudly created by DraftWorks Brewing. Well, most of the time when I hear something on the Griz Fan podcast that strikes a nerve for me, I just text in either affirmative or negative to the text thread that we all share. But this time I was like, well, this struck a chord with me so much, I got to just call Mike Nugent or text Mike Nugent and tell him he's just got to come because I want to hash this out with him one-on-one. So, Nuge, welcome to the Big Sky Breakdown. How you doing? Thanks for being here.
Great. I'm happy to be here. And I will say I enjoy getting your texts in real time as you listen to the pod every week. And you're not the only one. There are several people that do this to us, just like start commenting like we could talk back on the pod in person. I'm sure you're familiar with this too, because I do it during your live show.
Exactly. Okay, we got to start with the gripe before we talk anything about Saturday because this just happened, and I know you're going to be on my same page on this, and this is just ludicrous. The finalists, like a semifinalists, whatever, the list of 36 Walter Payton Award candidates just came out. Kaylee Yacht and Michael Wortham are on it, but Eli Gilman's not. And I'm sure that the justification is that they don't want three guys from one team on there. But my retort would be that, first of all, that team is the number 3 team in the country and averaged 43 points per game. But second of all, if you're going to choose 2 out of 3, I just can't believe that Eli Gilman can't be one of them. Like, how is Eli Gilman not on the list of the 35 best offensive players in the country? That's just a false list if he's not on it.
It's crazy. And they're taking for granted what he's done. And we've talked about this on the pod. You've talked about it on the radio show. He's so good that people are in the take for granted who he is and how good he is stage. But it's crazy. And the idea that a Yacht, Wortham, and Gilman aren't all worthy of being on the list of the top 35 offensive players in FCS is crazy. And the problem is that this is the participation trophy, participation ribbon part of FCS. And you see it a bit in the playoffs too, where they pretend some of these conferences deserve another bid when they don't. There's no way some of the guys on that list could come and compete in the Missouri Valley or the Big Sky and be anywhere near as good. And we need to stop pretending that they would. The FBS level doesn't do this. It drives me nuts that the FCS level does. It waters down the
it waters it down so much, man. I'm looking at where these guys are from and their statistics and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, I seen Josh Dye from Southern Utah. He's very good. He's also rushed for 1,831 yards, 28 touchdowns. Deserves to be on there. We don't have to go through all 9 guys. But there's guys on here from Yale, Monmouth, Central Connecticut State, Delaware State, and Lafayette, and Lehigh. You replace Eli Gilman on those teams' rosters you replace that guy with Eli Gilman, and his stats are superior to theirs. It's not close. It's not even a question. I mean, again, he just rushed for 142 yards and a 52-yard touchdown against the best defense in the country on Saturday. So, like, I don't know what else this guy can do.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's unfortunate because usually if there's like one guy on a team, the program will do like a big kind of like lobby the voters. But with 3 guys, I don't know how you pick, but it's crazy that he's not on that list. And I hope that the university kind of tongue in cheek points it out.
Totally, man. I wonder if there's like a way for us to get it on the list. Like, can Craig Haley have like an amendment? I mean, the guy's going to score 25 touchdowns by the time this season is over.
Craig Haley's part of the problem. So let's just not get you in danger with your friends here.
All right. So the thing that struck a chord with me from your guys' recording, which by the way, I'm not all the way through, about halfway through. It's a 3.5-hour journey, and we're only Tuesday afternoon here, so I had to do a little.
I'm done. I don't know why you're not.
But you made this interesting comment because Andrew Schmidt, who's contributed here at Skyline Sports too, he was going crazy about all sorts of different things. You can listen to it on GFP if you'd like, but he was talking about recruiting and in-state recruiting, and I think those are both really good points. But I do think though that the part that struck a chord with me that you said, which is so accurate, and it's the part that is the most perplexing thing to me about the Griz, is you cannot say that their recruiting has been bad or subpar or terrible or any of those things in its total. because you look at over the last since 2018. I mean, just off the top of my head, Samari Torre, Samuel Akem, and Michael Wortham are three of the greatest receivers the Grizz have ever had. Eli Gilman's in the midst of having one of the great Grizz running back careers ever. You
Yep.
also hearken back to Bobby Houck 1.0. Bobby Houck's never had a bad running back. He's in fact had like three or four good ones on every team. So he knows how to recruit that position. Receivers too. I mean, they've had two. I know the quarterback has been a point of contention, but man, Dalton Snead and Kale Iya both stack up there pretty good with most of the guys. Those guys are good enough FCS quarterbacks, right? You can go on down the line. But then you look at their at linebacker, they've been great. Safety, they've been great. But like you look at their misses, and they've been sort of middle with corners and subpar with defensive linemen and unacceptably subpar on the offensive line. And it's just crazy to me that there's such a disparity between the quality of the high level guys and then the others. And the fact that they're in clusters makes me think that there's like, I don't know, we can get to why we think maybe this is happening, but it just really struck a chord with me when you said that because their recruiting has been, like you said, they've had some slam dunks. So why do they
I
have these deficiencies?
I would say that they are better national recruiters this time around than they were the first time. And obviously, there were some great guys not from Montana on that first run through Bobby Houck. I mean, Tremaine obviously tops the list of guys that just jump right out. But from a standpoint of like getting impact guys, because the first time around, their big running backs were Montana guys, right? Lex, Chase, and now these running backs have been from all over the place.
Totally.
These receivers are top to bottom more talented receiving rooms than we had the first time. We had some great guys. I mean,
Sure.
you've got some buddies. Obviously, we both know Mark. I mean, so I'm not kind of drawing the comparison of one's better than the other, but it, it boggles my mind that in the trenches, they just seem to have not excelled consistently enough the whole time through. It doesn't make any sense to me.
In 1959, at Street's Grocery in Whitefish, Montana's special spice was born. Alpine Touch. It's the taste you grew up with, well seasoned through the test of time. As the tradition carries from one Montana generation to the next. From its humble beginnings to a trusted brand, here's to the next 60 years. Alpine Touch. Montana's special spice since 1959.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Yo, Tara, what up, E?
What's going on? Man, those are some nice medals.
Yeah, man, these are hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I've got two of them.
Well, that's nothing like going to March Madness, though.
We did go to a national championship.
Okay, guys, whatever. Let's just get on the Montana party bus and head over to Press Box for lunch.
Yeah.
Nuanez now and Skyline Sports, covering Montana athletics and the Big Sky Conference better than anybody. The Montana Party Bus and the Press Box are also proud supporters of Montana athletes.
Hey, cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to Montana. Cheers to chasing more championships.
And there's like examples of multiple different. Let's just keep it the offensive line and keep it focused for a second. Bobby Houck 2.0 has prioritized until at least until before this year FBS transfers to really anchor the offensive line. And even this year, they have two guys that were starters on the right side, Patrick Matton and Everett Johnson. Johnson had just been here for a couple years, so he's not new to the program this year. But still, I mean, they have two Power 5 guys on that side. But they did that Houck 1.0 as well. And a couple of their best guys was Levi Horn, who transferred from Oregon,
Yep.
and J.D. Quinn, who transferred from Oklahoma. So they have a similar strategy. Get Power 5 guys that can help fill some voids, but the quality is worse. So I don't know if that's because of availability or if that's because of scheme or if that's because of development. That's a hard one. And then you talk about the other guys, where they come in from in-state or out of state. The guys that have been very talented haven't seemed to reach the dominant level that the previous guys did. I think about Brandon Casey, who was a good player, but he's not in the same vein as like a Brent Russum, who also, by the way, was an Arizona State transfer, or a Colin Dow, a guy like that. So what's up with the development there? And then the third thing is they used to have so many great offensive linemen from Montana they would tell you that those guys don't exist anymore. But in fact, they still do. Most of them just play at Montana State. So
I was going to say that, you know, and somebody, it's been fun. The reactions from the pod of letting Andrew Schmidt come on and burn things to the ground
God,
have been kind of funny because, you know, we don't agree with every take he makes. You are familiar with this because I see your body language on these on the Schmidtacular
see when
episodes or
I'm
whatever.
rubbing my temples like
Yeah.
this when he's going crazy.
You're
Yes.
familiar with it. But somebody pointed out the difference between Hauk 1.0 and Hauk 2.0 as far as the rest of the conference and who they're competing with, it's night and day. Like there were, I think, 4 years that the Grizz lost 2 games in conference and still won the Big Sky Conference. And there hasn't been a 2-loss Big Sky Conference champion since like 2000 and what did it say, 5 or 15? I mean, either way.
I think it was 2005 when the Cats won in Missoula to share it 3 ways. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a different era. And I say that to point out that there's more competition in Montana. It used to be easier for the Grizz to dominate on in-state recruits because the Cats weren't any good. But what's frustrating, I think, to Montana fans is it seems like now that both programs are competitive. The Grizz are way more competitive as the quote unquote second fiddle to the Cats in this era than the Cats ever were before. I mean, the Grizz were in the national championship 2 years ago.
Right.
But I think what frustrates Grizz fans is it doesn't even seem like it's a 50-50. The Grizz have hit some home runs on some Montana kids in this era. Obviously, Junior Bergen leading the way, but there's been some great Montana kids. You look at some of those guys who have contributed and been great players, right down to like TJ Roush right now is having a great year for the Grizz. But the depth of like the top 10 recruits in the state feels like it has went far the other direction. And I don't understand why. I mean, I have theories, but I don't know if they're fair. So
Yeah. Well, and like the litmus test that I was thinking about is I'm going to put together a table once I have a little bit more time. Because there is a certain number of Montana kids in state every year, just period, that can play college football. And the Grizz used to get so many of them. Now they don't get as many. But I also do think that the ones they get are the ones that are not towards the top tier. And sometimes they just get those guys to say that they have some. Like I would actually argue that a lot of the guys that could have been seniors on this team that then decided to retire early that were from Montana, I think the Grizz replaced them with better players. I think that helped the Grizz become better. But that's not a shot at those guys. But like, I just think that if you're trading, you know, Dylan Smith for Solomon Tuliapupu, I think that that's probably an objective win for your program, right? So, anyways, we don't need to go through every single one of those guys. But I think that the litmus test that I was thinking about earlier is like right now, the Grizz have double-digit in-state commits. So they are getting some guys that are in state. And I do think some of those guys have some upward potential that are good.
absolutely.
I think Chris Redpath's son, Evan Pyron, is a great get for them. Montana State had not offered him yet, but they beat UC Davis, North Dakota. He had solid offers from both of them. So I mean, that's a good commit. But you look at the recruits in the state that had offers from both. That's what James was talking about on the Griz Fan podcast too. Every single one of them is going to the Cats except one, and that's Junior Adams' son. So you did get the kid from Belgrade, Wesley Arrett. Okay, you won that one, but they're never winning against Montana State. That's the problem. And sometimes it's because, like Schmidt would say, it's because they're not trying. Sometimes they are trying and they're just losing, and then sometimes they are not trying at all. Not trying is unacceptable to me, but I also wonder if that when they try and they lose, there's more to that than just the in-state recruiting battle.
Well, I mean, there's something to it if you're trying on, continuously trying on a certain number of the same guys and a proportion of them higher than 50-50 is going the other way, then something's wrong. Like there is a reason people are doing that. The other thing that we hear a lot, and I use Missoula recruits as an example just because that's where I am, but I've heard this story with kids from Helena and other places, is we hear a lot about kids who otherwise you think the Grizz should be in on or who might have interest in playing for the Grizz. And you'll kind of hear whispers even before the recruiting process is done. It's like, well, we don't want them, or they don't fit our scheme or whatever. But then they go and they become starters on the Cats. And how many guys on the Cats defense over the years, or Montana guys, or even Missoula guys, that when the recruiting was going on, you heard that the Grizz didn't want him, even if they kind of offered him, that they
Right.
didn't go after him hard. And so the question then becomes on how are we evaluating these Montana kids, and are they considering the contributions they can make in the same way? Because I am not someone who believes that we need to always have the most number of Montana kids. If the only way to build a program is Montana kids, because it's not. In FCS, we have to get good out-of-state kids. And I don't care that the Cats had 10 more Montanans than the Grizz. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is a program like Montana should be competitive with any Montana kid they want. Doesn't mean they have to come here, but if we're not competitive with every Montana kid that we want as a program, we need to ask why. What's going on?
Totally, man. And like there's just like who knows? I'm looking at the Montana Maid story I wrote last week, which is the chronicle of all of the guys from the Cats and the Grizz that are from
That's where I
Montana.
got the numbers.
Yeah, right. And it's one of my favorite things to write every year because it's just a fun exercise in highlighting all the small towns in Montana and just the cool stories. And, like writing about a kid like Mason Deathman. He's from a 6-man team. Like he's from a 100-person town, right? Like that's so cool. He's probably the most famous person from there for several decades worth, just being from a tiny town like Brockton. So, anyways, I'm just going to go rapid fire here. Like a guy like Paul Brott. Okay, he's the third brother in line of Brott brothers that played at Montana State. Still, though, he only had one D1 offer. Why didn't he have two? You should why not just see what happens? Bryce Grebe, same deal. Sure, he's the brother of the Millstone Cowboy. What if he doesn't want to go in his brother's footsteps, right? Like just recruit him. Dowler twins. Taco was a up in the air guy. They have no family ties either side, and Montana State gave Caden Dowler a scholarship so they could get Taco. I don't know. Seems like a pretty good recruiting tactic. You got two pretty good, damn good players.
And look how that's worked out. Good for Caden. I said this on the pod. Good for Caden Dowler
Right.
for, coming and showing that he deserved to be there. I think that's a great story.
Totally. Kenneth Hyde, okay, second generation Bobcat. He's from Bozeman. Okay, you don't put in much time with that guy. That's fine. You kind of you're saving yourself some resources. Cole Taylor grew up in a Griz family. I know he did. His grandpa's got season tickets. No attention though. Like the Cats didn't beat anybody for him. They just got him. How does that happen? Braden Zimmer from Billings West. I'm not sure the Grizz were in on him very hard either. He's a starting left tackle as a redshirt freshman. He can go on and on and on. I know people would say, okay, Zach Cruz dug his own grave. Fine.
Separate him. That's why I said on the pod. Separate him. That's a different conversation. But look, Adam Jones,
JJ Dolan, multiple Frenchtown guys. I mean,
JJ Dolan's like should be a third generation Grizz. And he's one, and I'll say it, he's one that when that recruiting was going on, I heard that the Grizz told people they didn't want him, which is crazy to me. Now he's a starter.
Said he wasn't good enough, and now he's a starter as a redshirt freshman. I mean, went from walk-on to scholarship guy to starter.
And maybe over his career, he proves to not be like an all-conference starter. That's still a great depth piece. So why not?
Exactly. And it's like Schmidt was saying, too. You get them so that the Cats don't have them.
Yeah.
And that's what the Cats have been doing is they're getting them so the Grizz can't have them. And if some of them become good and some of them don't, okay. But you had all these guys that the Grizz couldn't have, and they had no chance to make them good.
It's interesting to me that Pyron, is that his name? Right?
Yeah, Evan Pyron, yeah.
I had a chance to talk to him a couple times. He seems like a good kid. He refed for us in NYF. But
oh yeah, he's a humble kid, quiet young man.
It surprises me the Cats didn't offer him because for a long time, especially under Choate, the Cats' method was offer everybody and make them feel wanted. And you know what? They did a good job of that. And MSU in general has done a good job of that. And I don't know that if you talk to the parents of kids who were recruited by both, they would say the same thing about UM. And I think that's what we need to figure out what's going on.
So, and then what I said is there's something bigger going on here. I don't even necessarily mean they're recruiting tactics. I wonder if actually there's a connection to the institutional issues that the University of Montana has had over all these years. Like some metrics you look at, first of all, they tell you the numbers are getting better. Okay. But then you look at some of the other stuff and the numbers have gotten a little bit better by certain metrics, but at the end of the day, there's less than 8,000 students at the University of Montana that are 4-year undergraduate students, like the core of your student body that are people that are making campus life. There's still less than 8,000 of those. And I've heard stories over and over and over again from people that are just our neighbors, right? People that are in Missoula that say the same thing, like that their kids hardly get any sort of outreach. The Mail has Montana State stuff in it every week. It has no Montana stuff. So then I wonder if part of the reason that the Cats have been just dominating this is because the Montana State's become the cool place to go. Their friends, their buddies, the people that aren't playing sports, they're going to Montana State. Oh, I can go play for the Cats. I'll go play for the Cats. I wonder if it's not even necessary, like if the Grizz are at a disadvantage before the coaches even get out there.
Oh yeah, I buy that completely. And UM has taken steps to make positive gains in enrollment, but they're still the second choice of a lot of students who stay in state. And I have talked about this ad nauseum on the podcast and in places where people will listen, but it's a bigger issue with kind of top to bottom making Montana feel like a special place to be. And I think there are individual departments and individual people on campus who are knocking it out of the park. I think collectively it struggles a bit. And
Yes.
It frustrates me, but this is also where I get really frustrated with UM athletics sometimes. And God love them, I have a lot of friends in UM athletics. I think that from the president on down, people need to adopt this mission of we need to make every Montana kid feel special all the time. I don't care about athletics, just in general, because we need them to come to this school.
Hello, my name is Kelly Ayat, quarterback at the University of Montana. In the off-season, it's important to do everything you can to prepare for the season. In high school, that means funding your program. In my experience, Vertical Raise is the ultimate online fundraiser platform. Now broaden your reach of your fundraiser and bring in more money than other platforms. And there are no sneaky or hidden fees like other companies. If you're trying to raise money for your program, reach out to Vertical Raise today.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
Cash One Pawn, Missoula's #1 pawn shop.
You want money? We got money. You need money? We got money. We're cash.
Do yourself a favor and make Cash One Pawn part of your online shopping habits. Cash One Pawn has an awesome online inventory, everything from firearms to power tools to speaker equipment to jewelry. Visit Cash One Pawn today.
Cash One Pawn.
8720 Roller Coaster Road, CashOnePawn.com.
Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any town pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
It's so true, man. And what you just said struck a chord so much too. Make the kids feel special, not because we're pandering to kids, but because the University of Montana is special. Like that's something that so many people, from observers of the university to people that are involved in the university to people that live in this town, they have somehow either forgotten or like become in denial of. Like it is one of the great liberal arts schools in the country. It is like Missoula is this bastion of discourse and intellect that does stand apart from so many other places in this state and in this region. It's one of the coolest college campuses you could find. The sports have always had great tradition. There's not very many more fun. I mean, I travel around to college towns for a living. And it's not just because I'm from here. Missoula is the most badass college town I have been to. So that's the thing is the university and everybody in the community needs to remember it's not just about treating kids special. The university itself is special.
Yeah, it is. It's a great place to be. And it brings so much to the community and the state. And I think we're starting to get better at telling our story, but there's still so much to go because this narrative that I think college guidance counselors across the state buy into that, oh, if you want a better education, go to MSU is ridiculous. If you want to be an engineer, go to MSU or, hey, Montana Tech. Let's just throw that out there.
Totally.
But there are so many other things where it's like you hear somebody talking about, like, I want to go to med school, so I went to MSU. Go to UM. The program to get you into med school is better at UM, and I will die by that.
Yes.
We don't do a good job of telling our story on some of this stuff. And I don't know what the answer is, except going back to that, everybody needs to understand the mission. And when they're talking to the public, whether it's a group of students, a group of parents, a group of alumni, the media, they're on social media, they need to be focused on pumping up the good. And I think part of the problem is has always been introspective and self-critical. And I'm going to blame the Kaiman for a second here because you're an alum, Colter. But I think that it's just in vogue at the University of Montana to focus on here's where the administration is falling short. And it's like, don't get me wrong, we should call stuff out when it needs to be called out, but there's so much that they're doing well that I don't think is highlighted very well.
Totally, man. And this is like, we could go down a whole rabbit hole here because I've thought about this so much. You and I are both proud Missoulians, who grew up here, went to school. So we certainly, like, people that are watching this, if you think, okay, you guys are just biased because you're from there and you went there. But we've also talked about this so much. We've been around, we've seen how it all works a lot of other places. But I think that Montana told its story as well as anybody for so many years, and then the story took this dark, weird turn for a couple years, and then they got scared of their story in totality rather than just steer away from that one time. But the rest of it should be such a well-told story. And I think about this all the time. Like, this would be my ad campaign for the University of Montana. Let's go find, think about how many people of our age demographic are just wildly successful because of the education that we received at Montana. And that's the part where this whole, like, oh, if you go to Montana State, you're gonna have this way better starting salary and all this stuff. Sure, in certain ways, maybe. But like the entrepreneurs and the public servants and stuff that have came out of the University of Montana have had such a huge influence on the state. And the Griz need to do a better job of telling that. Me and you we could do 30-second hits for weeks with all the people that are successful and have made a difference in and around the state.
The whole storyline idea of like the old, you can get there from here adage, right? But I think you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, we all know about, the 2011, 12, 13, kind of that era and Department of Justice investigation and all that stuff. But I will tell you from the outside looking in during that time and since, I actually think the university did a bad job of telling their story of their response to that.
Right.
Because they've been proactive. They've done things. They've partnered with the community. And I think they were afraid of kind of saying like, yep, problem's been identified and here's everything we're doing to make it better. And instead they've kind of shied away and they just haven't figured out how to consistently tell their story since. Now, social media does a great job. And I think the social media teams do understand how to tell a story. The teams that put together the videos, both of the university and the sports. And I think that there's some people doing some great things.
Yep.
And I would just love for that to be leaned into more because there's so many great things going on here. And I do think it relates back to in-state recruiting, that it's not just sports and things like that, because UM is a great place to come and play and have an opportunity and, make the playoffs every year. Got the national championship 2 years ago, the number 3 seed this year. It's like, you can do that. Like that alone isn't it. But I do think that and it's easy for me to say, but I think that we need to find a way as the university and as the football program to make some of these kids feel like that specialness, that uniqueness, but that also it's okay to make a big deal about a freshman deciding where to go to school. I think that there's kind of within the football program, there's a little bit of, we celebrate kids as they earn it on the field. And don't get me wrong, like I get that and I appreciate that. But I also know that in this era, finishing high school is an accomplishment, and it's okay to celebrate accomplishments. Deciding what you want to do next, whether that's going into the trades, going to the university, doing something else, maybe it's playing sports, it's okay to celebrate that. And I would just like to see it feel like more of a big deal, that's like, hey, you're thinking of coming and joining us? Awesome. How can we help you? How can we make you feel like part of the university? How can we show you how great this is? It's not just saying like, hey, come hang out on campus and take it all in yourself. Like, we need to be more proactive on that front. And you could see my merging of like just athletics versus just students as a whole.
Totally. Yeah. No, for sure. I think that you're right. It's a great story. It's a good story. Everybody needs to tell the story better. And that's the whole thing when it comes to this recruiting conversation, is that I think it's not a matter of fixing one thing. I just think it's a matter of sort of acknowledging why and then trying to figure out a way to mitigate that. Okay, one last thing before I got to go.
Shine Beer Sanctuary is leading the charge when it comes to promoting beer culture in Montana. Located at the corner of Church and Main and downtown Bozeman, the locally owned and operated tap house and bottle shop has the best beer selection in the Treasure State. The bar has 32 rotating beers on tap with everything from Duvel to local ciders, gluten-free beers, and non-alcoholic options. The bottle shop has more than 400 beer offerings from all over the world, and Shine offers Cicerone-trained beer guides. Come enjoy beer heaven at Shine Beer Sanctuary.
Will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Being in this industry since I was in college, one of the things I think we take the most pride in is Aspen Sound's been such a presence in Missoula for almost 40 years. The cool parts about our job is people always ask me, what do you do for a living? I sell foam, whether it's as simple as window tint all the way up to integrating a backup camera into a factory screen. I'm usually pretty excited about the options we can present.
I think everybody will sort of agree that the FCS is certainly watered down. Just in terms of the schools that have left.
Yeah.
But I put this on Schmidt, and he actually had to like sit there and contemplate for a second, because I think it resonated with him after he's been like, oh, everybody sucks. Montana should win the national championship every single year. I would say this. I do think the FCS is watered down in terms of the number of teams that can truly compete at a national level. I think that's because of the schools that have left. But I also think people forget most of the reason that a lot of the schools have left is not just to chase money, it's to get out of the same subdivision as North Dakota State, because they're not going to catch North Dakota State.
Yeah.
They have an easier chance of winning 9 games in the Sun Belt and going to a bowl than they ever do of reaching this bar. So that's what I put on Schmidt, is that the bar to win a national championship has never been higher. The greatest North Dakota State teams of this last 10 or 12 years are the greatest teams in the subdivision's history. They would beat everybody. They have all the best players. They have all these NFL draft picks. Like North Dakota State, the 2019 team, they could go in the Big 12 and win 9 games. Like, they would be a bowl team in the Power 4. That's how good they are.
Yeah, the South Dakota State team that beat us in the championship 2 years ago, I mean, that team would beat every FCS champion I could think of, save maybe 96 Marshall.
Right? Like that is one exactly. I mean, they had 8 NFL guys on that team. Like, that is a stat.
And not just like camp NFL guys, but like legit.
I mean, they had 3 guys drafted. Like, yeah, legit, totally. So then let me ask you this. Since the bar is higher than it's ever been before, and Montana, I think, is a clear cut in the top 4 programs in the country, period. And right now, in this current state of the season, they are number 3 in the country after an 11-1 regular season. If Montana State wasn't in the same state as Montana, vice versa, like if the Griz weren't in-state rivals with the Cats and the Griz were just the 3rd team in the country and not in the same state as the number 2 team in the country, would we look at this all differently and give the Griz more grace?
Yeah, we would. But for a lot of casual fans, there's one game that matters.
Totally.
And, you know, that's who we are competing against most directly for a whole lot of stuff, not only athletes, but donors, students at our university. So it's like, it's easy to say, yeah, if they were just a random program that was good, we'd probably have respect for them and be like, yeah, we want to be with them. But because they're our rivals, they're our in-state neighbors, they're the ones we share the commonality with, it's us against the world, but within that little world, it's us versus them on everything. So
what happens? Like, how much will your opinion change? Because I've listened to you very much on the Griz Fan podcast, and I think I know exactly where you stand. I think that you think that what's going on right now is really good, but also there's just pretty obvious ways that it could be better. What if they ran it? What if Montana doesn't lose again? How would that change or color your opinion?
I mean, I think that it would illustrate the point that you and your brother have both made recently, that the Griz are closer than people realize. I think if they ran it this year, you always need to look at the program and say, okay, how can we sustain this? What did we do right? Did we get lucky, or are we good? And how do we go from here? But it'd be hard to complain. I mean, it's hard to complain now.
Totally.
And we had a long pod, with Mr. Negative, and then my co-host Brent, tongue in cheek, sarcastically, just was like, "This is the worst number 3 team in the history of the world." That's a good point, because there are 100 and however many other FCS teams that would trade with what we are for an instant.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. And that's the greatest part about this, though, is we're going to have definitive answers that'll influence our offseason thoughts, because there's like 5 possible scenarios here. Let's go from worst to best. The worst is the Griz lose to South Dakota State in the second round of the playoffs, and they're 0-2 barbecue after going 11-0. Then all the criticisms are on the table.
And all the criticisms of the year are fair.
Totally. Second worst would be just going to Montana State and getting slaughtered in the semifinals. The third would be to go to Montana State, play a great game, and lose, in a heartbreaker. Fourth is to go to Bozeman and win, but then go to Nashville and get destroyed. And then the fifth is the culmination that everybody wants. Everybody that's a Griz person that wants. And that is, run the table, win in Bozeman, slay the dragon, beat NDSU, win the national championship. So we're gonna have a lot of fuel for this, one way or the other, here coming down the pipe.
Yep. You forgot about losing the quarterfinals to Mercer or South Dakota.
See, I just think that if Montana gets through that first game, they're going to the semis.
Okay.
I think that if both the teams win their first game, I think the second one's almost a guarantee.
Yeah. I do think that even if South Dakota State gets their quarterback back, they are still a shell of the team they were earlier in the year. They've had some injuries. Right. Their defense is not what it was.
Totally.
And this Griz team should believe that they can win.
I mean, check out Sam Herder on Nuanez now. You can find it on the podcast because he's talked about this a couple of times. They have some off-the-field stuff too. We don't need to go into it here because I'm up against it. But, they recruited a bunch of transfers. They got a bunch of NIL. A bunch of the guys that stayed didn't get a bunch of NIL. They had some stuff in the locker room too. So it's not the clean and squeaky and healthy Jacks that won in Bozeman in week 2. But we'll see. That's what makes this great. Mike Nugent here on the Big Sky Breakdown. Thanks for doing it, buddy. Good to see you.
You bet. Thanks, bud.
Thinking about selling your home in Missoula? Here's the truth. Buyers are still out there, but they're being picky. That means how you market your home matters more than ever. I'm Ty Hobbs with Hobbs Homes at Keller Williams, and my job is to make sure your listing stands out. From strategic pricing to professional marketing, stunning photography, and targeted advertising, I'll position your home to attract the right buyers and get you the best price possible. In today's market, it's not just about putting a sign in the yard, it's about telling your home story, creating urgency, and negotiating every dollar in your favor. If you've been on the fence about selling, now's the time to talk strategy. Let's see what your home could sell for and how we can make